Hello. Today we're going to walk through the Continuum of Care Internal Renewal Program application. Before we get started and get into the application portal, I just want to remind you of a couple of things. First, our application system does allow you to start and stop an application. It also allows for collaborative application work. So if you are going to have another staff member work on your application with you, please reach out to us and we can give you instructions on how we'll make that happen. For renewals, that will look a little bit different than new projects at this time. So just reach out to us and we can give you instructions on next steps. Even though you can start and stop your application, if you want to be ready to complete your full application before you apply, go ahead and get a couple of things prepared. The first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that you have your sam.gov and your Secretary of State registration pulled off of those appropriate websites for your organization. We're going to want to see that you've got a current registered unique entity identifier and that you have maintained your registration with the Secretary of State as a nonprofit or appropriate entity. The next thing you're going to want to do is please prepare to attach, similar to sam.gov and Secretary of State, your Housing First related policies or your policy manual. If you're attaching your full policy manual, it would be great if you could indicate in the title of the document what pages we should be looking at for Housing First related policies, or if you can extract those pages from the manual and simply attach only those sections, that would be awesome too. We will not be doing detailed scoring on policies this year. We're just going to be looking for the fact that you are able to provide those policies to us, and we'll be doing a light review for any concerns or questions we might come across as we are comparing your Housing First policies with your responses to the Housing First related questions on the assessment. The next thing you're going to want to make sure you have is your annual performance report, or APR. And you're going to want to pull that out of HMIS and get that for 1/1/2022 to 12/31/2022. We're going to look at that calendar year and use that data for our renewal application. There's a number of ways you can then provide that information to us. Our best preference is what we prefer is that you then upload it to Sage and then download it as a PDF. That gives us the cleanest view of your APR. Please do not print and scan your APR if you can avoid that. Those versions of that document are typically the most difficult for us to review. And we do our best to review questions and data that's provided to us. If not in a complete and thorough review, we will do a random spot check of any random data point on any application so that we can confirm that the data points provided to us in the application are representative of what was in your annual performance report from last year. You're also going to want to have your HUD closeout information for your spend for the most recent closed out fiscal year for all projects. That will be your fiscal year 2020. For those of you who are direct HUD funded, that should be simple enough for you to locate that fiscal year 2020 grant agreement or contract. For those of you who are IHCDA subrecipients, you'll go ahead and look for the grant agreement with the 021 in the grant agreement title. You'll see that in the middle of the grant agreement number code, the grant agreement 021 for our IHCDA subrecipient grant agreements. I think that's all you'll need. I know that's a lot to get prepared, but if you can have those things ready, it'll just make it easier for you to go ahead and complete the entire thing at once. Again, you can get any of those ready and input that data at any point as you go into completing your application for renewal, and we'll go ahead and get into the portal. We've created a separate video for you to see how you can log in to your system to apply. There is an Access Indiana email you should have received to either activate or log into your existing account. If you need more help on how to do that, please reach out to us at the community service inbox and we will go ahead and help you with that. Just one moment. I'm going to go ahead and also put the community service inbox email in the chat of this. So hopefully you can view that as you're taking a look at this video. This community service inbox is the best way to get in touch with us throughout the renewal application period. We'd appreciate if you reach out to us there instead of directly emailing any particular staff member. That way, whichever staff member is most available can get back to you as quickly as possible. I'm going to share my screen so you can see the application inside the renewal system. So when you log in to Access Indiana and you select the grants, if you search for or select the community services or IHCD community services grants, you will be able to access this portal, and you should see, if you have a created account that has registered to your organization and to your renewal projects, you should see the following information. A draft of projects available for you to go ahead and complete a renewal application for. You're going to go ahead and select this number up top, not the name or the organization. So go ahead and select that. All right, we have an application workspace and instructions here. These are light instructions that go over basic information. You'll note that our deadline is listed here, and you'll want to make sure that you're submitting before the end of business on that day. Okay, so we've got a number of sections here. Please make sure that you have, again, your sam.gov and Secretary of State registration completed so that you can affirm, especially as you're starting the application, that this information is current and correct. We have a number of sections here. I'll just highlight very quickly. Your first section is applicant and project information. This is very high level information just about your organization. You're going to have some basic eligibility questions, which are basic expectations that we would anticipate all of our projects being able to answer yes to. Inability to answer yes to these questions is not an automatic disqualifier for your application, but you will not receive points on those questions. They're just kind of representing the fact that these are general basic understanding questions that we would have you complete. Then we have project detail and funding information, housing first questions, performance questions, equity and representation questions, and then our bonus questions. You'll see here that bonus and deductions are both listed. You will only be able to view the bonus questions. The deductions will only be reviewable by an application reviewer and scorer. So you're not going to see that section, but that is where that information will be captured. This will be helpful for you, especially as we continue through this renewal process and you receive your application report, and you're able to then see what your score was on certain sections, and if you had any deductions, it would appear in that section. All right, so I have a brand new application here. Has not been started, and I'm going to go ahead and hit review and update. You'll see here some of my organization information is pre-populating. If that doesn't pre-populate, please go ahead and complete it for us. You're going to see anytime there is a red star, that's going to be required information. You can go ahead and complete that, please. Make sure that everything is captured correctly. Much of this may be pulling off of base account information that we've used to create your account. So it is possible, of course, that we've made a mistake, categorized information incorrectly, listed an improper address. And it is also possible that maybe no application, no organization information pulled over for any reason. We're still making sure that all of that is filled out for everybody. And in some cases, there could always be an error. So please go ahead and complete that just so we have it on file. And then as we are continuing to update and modify the system, we're able to make those corrections as we need to. Again, you're going to see that we're going to ask you to complete your organization type and your organization subtype. If you don't fall under any of these types, go ahead and select that you're something other. Please provide the listing of who in your organization is going to be the signer of contracts. This is typically always your organization president and executive director, but if for some reason it is not, just please put that person in there. And then this is where you will put your information. This, because we are doing renewal applications, is going to pre-populate from the account we've created for you, that we have then tied to the agency account. So This is a test account that is associated with the IHCDA main account that we're using to test the product. This will autofill. This may or may not. So please go ahead and appropriately include your email and phone number as we need to in case there are any problems with your application that we need to go ahead and fix. All right. Obviously, we're expecting that both of these things are true as a renewal application and select that appropriate answer. Now you're here to put your project information in. You're going to see that the project name should pre-populate. Again, if it does not, go ahead and put that information in. And then we'll go ahead and select the type of project this is by describing the type of project this is. You can put as much or as little detail in there as you like. We're just collecting this information now as a way to roll it into future functionality of the program. So please, put as much level of detail as you want. If you're a domestic violence organization, you could include that information that it's for survivors of domestic violence. Maybe it serves veterans or only families. That's the kind of information that would be appropriate to put here, but there will be an opportunity for you to answer project type information later. So we're not relying on the fact that you have inputted a rapid rehousing or supportive housing project here to do anything for us later. Go ahead and put this in as you need to. If you need to look this information up, you can easily Google it online. You'll see here that this question about HUD or IHCDA findings, if you select no, nothing appears. If you do select yes, because we know that may happen, you can go ahead and provide some information here for us. Again, it does not preclude you from receiving COC renewal application funds or completing a renewal app to have this selected as yes. Just please let us know kind of what's going on with the project so that we have that information going into the HUD application. Once you save that information, it will list that the section may have been completed, so you can go ahead and move on to the next section. All right, in this case, you're going to go ahead and answer these basic participation and engagement questions as appropriate. Maybe you did or did not do one of these activities, and you'll go ahead and hit next. That will again save for you to go and move into the next section. And here we are in project detail and funding. So in this case, this is an organization. This application is applying as a subrecipient of IHCDA. I'm going to show you the two different views that happen if you select either option. I'm going to keep these options as they are and move forward to the next section. This is affirming that I met my basic responsibilities as an IHCDA subrecipient. And now I'm going to go back and show you what happens if I select that I am not a subrecipient of IHCDA. Those of you who are direct HUD funded will have slightly different questions to answer on the second page. So please do note that. The note here is going to say 2 years prior, and this is really just referencing 2 years being from the current year of active funding that's about to start. So again, we are still talking about the most recent closed out funding year, that fiscal year 2020. Given that we're just about to start 2022, that's why it's referencing 2 years there. Projects submitted and signed agreements, all those things very similar, but just slightly different wording since IHCDA requirements are going to look a little different than base HUD requirements. Again, when you save that, it's going to list, it's going to move from, awaiting completion to complete, and you're going to be able to move into your next section. The system does not save your application as you go. So if you happen to step away from your desk and you're not done with the section, you can just go hit next and next until you close it out, and then that progress will be saved. Otherwise, if the system happens to time out because you step away, anything you've completed will be complete, but anything that was left open will still need to be completed again. All right, now we're down into the housing first and low barrier questions. These are very similar to questions asked before, but please note the wording. We have gotten some feedback in the past that the wording on these was confusing. So just carefully read the question and make sure that what you're answering is appropriately a yes or a no. Everything should be written in the positive now, so there's no concern about a double negative meeting a positive or anything like that. So please carefully read and respond to those questions. And again, because I've responded to these before, we've already got that yes in there, it's ready to go. Similar with housing retention, you're going to see those similar questions. And when you're done, you can hit next. If at any point you need to close out, because again, maybe you need to step away and you're not ready to save the page, or you're just kind of opening the application and looking at it, you can always close out without responding to any questions. If you open it up and let's say you have not responded to questions that are required here, and you try and hit next, it will stop you from continuing. So you can always close out using that next. All right, we've got performance questions here now. And you'll go ahead and take a look at your annual performance report for 1/1 to 12/31 of 2022. And there are detailed instructions that we're providing via paper for you to review this information. The first questions are coming from table Q6A, B, C, and E. And you'll notice that all of these percentages are provided to you in those data questions. Except for E, which does not provide a percent, but it's going to look at the first two rows, and anything that's outside of being listed in those first two rows would be how you'd answer that question. So in the case of the APR I'm looking at, they have project records that started and exited outside of a 7-day period. So they had 7 to 10 and 11 plus days records that were entered outside of that 0, 1 to 3, and 4 to 6 days. And so I'll have to hit no for that one. When we have our office hours, we'll record a more detailed breakdown of this, but we're just going to kind of hit the high points now. So in maintaining or exiting a permanent housing, one of the numbers you may want to keep in your back pocket is the total persons served, which is something you'll find on your APR report in the Q5 question. It's actually going to be probably the first number you see, total number of persons served. And in this applicant, we had 24 persons served. And then we are going to scroll down to quite a long ways away to Q23. Those of you who are familiar with the APR probably can find some of this pretty quickly. If you need to take your time on it, that's all right. Or if you need to reach out to us, don't hesitate. We're happy to answer any questions, provide any guidance to you on what might be going on with your APR. We provided guidance earlier this year to please use the APR reviewer tool that is provided by our HMIS team inside HMIS. And there is detailed guidance and reports for you to complete for that information if you need it. And hopefully it is helpful to you to complete those APR reviewers before you come in here so that if you have questions about your data, you are able to answer those appropriately. So you're gonna, oh, excuse me, I skipped to here. Positive exit destinations is actually where Q23C is. And I've got 3 positive exits here. And then I'll go back to my Q5A for this next one, or the previous one, I should say. I could have gotten that when I got my total people served. I can go ahead and search in my Q5A. In that report, I'll see total number of stayers. And please provide total number, not total number of adult stayers, because remember, we counted all people here, not just adults. So in this case, I have a 96% exit or remaining in permanent housing. That calculation is being done on the back end for you. But, you know, if you would like to do your own math and double check that against the system, you're welcome to do that. If you happen to see any data errors as you go do that, if your number does not match this, please reach out to us so we can work with our developers to see what might be going on. Now you're going to go to exits to permanent housing. And again, you'll go back to that Q5 question. And you're going to look for heads of household here. If your program has children and unknown age heads of household, which I hope it doesn't, because I don't think we have any youth serving organizations, and you should have a date of birth for all of your heads of household, you may need to include both your children and unknown age heads of household and your head of household. I understand for some of our DB folks, you may be missing age information. So that's why I'm just pointing out you may need to include your unknown age heads of household. In this case, this project didn't have any unknown age heads of household, so we'll go ahead and put that their total heads of household, which would count their heads of their total households as 15. You can only have one head of household in an enrollment, so that should not cause an issue for you as you are completing this information. Okay. You'll go back here to your Q23. You're going to scroll all the way down, and we are looking only for persons who have exited to a homeless situation or an unknown situation. So we are not going to count individuals who are deceased, individuals who entered a institution. We'll only be counting individuals who are experiencing literal homelessness. So you're going to want to look for folks who, households who entered emergency shelter, hotel, including motel paid with emergency shelter voucher, RI, or host home shelter. You're going to see that under the temporary destinations part of the chart. And in this case, this agency had 0 exits to a literal homeless situation. We also have no unknown exits in this agency's. Yep. That unknown information will be found below under right above the end of the chart that says total persons exiting to a positive destination. You're not going to select the total or subtotal information. You're only going to look at the data not collected information. And in this case, that is 0. So this agency had 0 exits to homelessness or unknown destination. Maintain or increase income. You're going to want to go back to question 19. And you're going to go to the 19A1 by start and latest status. So this is for when people started and then their annual assessment or sooner if they are a non-supportive housing program. And you're going to want to look in that first A1 chart for number of adults with any other income. And you're going to want to compare that to your adults in the program. So I apologize, I skipped down again. Just go back to Q5A, you'll get your total adults information. I get ahead of myself. You're going to want to go ahead and look at your number of adults in Q5A. It's going to be right under number of persons served. In this case, this was a 17. And now we'll go to Q19A. And again, you'll go to column I in that chart. If you've got it from the Sage download, it's really helpful. And you're going to go down to the row that says number of adults with any income, total income. In this case, it's going to read as 9. Excellent. You'll also go down to 19A2, and this is for folks who started and then exited. So again, especially for our rapid rehousing programs, you might have more people in this group. You're going to add that number that you got from chart 19A1 to the number you're about to get from 19A2. And hopefully this is fairly simple math for you, but if you need to write it down, that's okay. We all have our good days and bad days. And there were 2 individuals here that were receiving, maintaining or increasing their income. So that added up to 11 total adults over 18 that are clients, and then increase or maintain their income. So again, you're going to notice that this is comparing adults and clients to adults and clients. The numbers should parrot each other instead of one being households and one being individuals or anything like that. Again, if you observe that you feel like you're needing to calculate households to adults or households to people or people, against another number that doesn't make sense, please reach out to us so we can clarify if there's a concern about the application. We want to make sure that everybody's got the level of detail they need to complete this successfully. And if we need to clarify instruction or change instruction to do that, we definitely understand that. For utilization, we're going to go up to our Q8A, excuse me, and you're going to look here a number of households served. And that here is already 15. I already had this information in here. And then you're going to go to Q8B and put in the point in time for Q1, which will say January in the chart, and that was 14. And this is 14. 14, and this was 13. So again, over time, this is going to calculate a percentage. So if you notice after you just enter one number, for example, if I take out these other numbers, my total will go down. And well, see, now it's mad at me because I already put it in. But if you notice as you started, if it wasn't there, it looked like the percentage was lower. It'll start to course correct as you complete more. All right, you'll notice here these arrows. If any of them are ever minimized, you can expand them and put in the amount of money you received. So in this case, I'm going to say $150,000 was our grant total. And you'll notice because I listed I only spent $1, and let's make it a little bit more realistic and maybe put it at 100,000. It's going to activate that you need to respond to this reallocation policy question. So again, as a reminder, we're talking about fiscal year 2020. For those of you who are direct HUD, you should know that as your 2020 grant agreement for fiscal year 2020. It was probably executed with you sometime in 21. And then for those of you who are subrecipients of IHCDA, you're going to look for that 021 in your grant agreement. So my award was 150, my spend was 100,000. That places me below the minimum spending threshold of 75%, which means that I need to provide a utilization rationale. Please put in here any information you'd like to share about what's been going on with the project, why the spending was not what you anticipated it to be, what changes you've made to your project. Those of you who we've met with and had these discussions should be prepared to complete this information. If for some reason you complete this and you don't, you do hit that threshold and you don't know what to do, please reach out to us. We're happy to chat. And also, if you don't need to complete it, it will disappear. And again, you'll see your spend utilization, which I'm guessing so many of you will know off the top of your head. Well, not off the top of your head, but maybe you've pulled it recently or looked at it in the last 12 months. You'll hit next there, and then you'll be here down in equity and representation. I'm not going to go through these questions, but you are going to, or all of them, excuse me, but you are going to have a number of questions I want to point out to you before we move on. First, that we have a question about survivors of domestic violence and severe service need. You're going to look at your instructions, your detailed instructions page, and locate those application information records for where you're looking in your APR. That APR question you're going to be searching for is again going to be that Q5A line 1. And in this case, it's auto-populating over from our earlier answer. It is programmed to do that. So if for some reason you think this number should be different, please go back and look at your performance page. Or if you complete this page before you complete your performance page, this percentage will not calculate properly. Your person served in domestic violence who experienced domestic violence are going to be Q14A. Right, and you're going to look there for those that answer and respond with yes. And in this case, it was 4. Next, you're going to go look in your APR for your severe service need, which is going to be your Q13A2. You'll see I see C2, C1, B2. It's quite a long report. It's this here. You're not looking at my APR that I'm using, but it's here under Q13A2, number of conditions at start. And you're going to go ahead and look at the first column under total 3+ conditions and input that information here. The rest of these questions you can go ahead and answer as you see fit and have that information submitted as you hit next. Information about how each of these are scored is provided in those detailed instructions which are given to you. And the last section is your bonus section. If you will go ahead and respond to these questions as appropriate, you'll be able to go ahead and save this information. If you are choosing to voluntarily reallocate any of your project, and this is open to anybody in the competition who is in a renewal project, whether or not you met your spending threshold, you're always able to provide this information to us to say, I'm gonna reallocate $5,000. This is very helpful to us as we are preparing for new project submissions. One of the things we like to be able to provide to any potential new applicants, those of you who've applied recently maybe have noted this, we like to be able to tell people how much funding is available, and anything that is reallocated through the competition is available for new projects to apply for. So it's really handy for us to be able to provide that. And in past years, we've been able to add several $100,000 onto our total award amount that we're able to make available. And many times projects that are new projects that are funded under reallocated funding, you know, they're possibly easier for us to get in as a new project. So very helpful. If you, for any reason, are a subrecipient under a multi-sub award, like our DV bonus projects, indicating reallocation inside of this portal will not mean that you are reallocating your current grant year. This will be reallocation for future years. That's something to note for everybody, but in case there is a situation where we would ever reallocate across subrecipients of IHCDA because of spending needs or challenges, just know that this is for future, this is not for current. If you, again, want to reallocate inside a multi-sub award, that's really the only kind of award we can do that under without, well, really at all. And so if you want to do it live, that's a different process. This is only for future competitions. Finally, you'll see this get started here for our last section, and this is where you're going to want to upload those documents I mentioned at the beginning. Please provide your APR. Again, our preference is that you go ahead and upload your APR to Sage and then download it as a PDF. Our least preference is getting that information out and then printing and scanning it back to us. Housing first sections of your policy manuals or the entire policy manual, again, preferably with information about what page we can find that on, saved in or noted somewhere on that document, so it's easier for us to locate that. SAM.gov and Secretary of State registration. You can replace any of these files. Let's say you ran that APR, you completed your app, and you decided, you know, there's got to be something wrong. We're going to do a little bit of data cleanup. You could change your answers in your application and upload a new file. And once you've completed all of these sections, there's going to be an opportunity for you to submit. There'll be a new button that appears. When we walk through during our office hours, we'll walk you all the way through that process. You'll be able to see it from start to finish, and we'll have a recording of that as well. Just wanted to give you a taste of this application. I hope this was helpful to you as you begin to prepare and submit your APR, submit your IRPA along with your APR registration, CM.gov, and Secretary of State and your housing first policies. And just really appreciate your patience on all of this as we have continued to fine tune and navigate this new system. I hope it's easy for you to utilize. And again, don't hesitate to reach out to us if you've got any questions, and we'll hopefully see you on our office hours, or you'll have a chance to review that office hour session at a later date. Thank you so much.